Hi, Camille.
Good morning, Susannah.
How are you?
Good, and yourself?
Thank you for taking the time to come and visit with the Southern View magazine.
I appreciate the time.
And I just want to let the audience know that today, the Southern View magazine is interviewing Miss Camille Daniels. And a few months ago in the summer, I met Camille through her dad, Ernie Daniels. He was actually telling me about you.
Mm-hmm.
And telling me what you majored in, and I said, wow, that sounds like a very interesting, major, interesting career.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought it would be great if we would share that with the audience and also young folks. So Camille, just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Well, my name is Camille Daniels. Hello. I grew up here in Lafayette, Louisiana. I went to Como High School. And I started having an interest in science, which is kind of where we're leading into.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Science is interesting. And the one thing I'm understanding is you majored in marine science?
That's correct.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that. Tell me, marine science is, to me, very interesting. I did start doing a little research on it, but I'd like Camille to give us a, firsthand, experience about that. So tell us where you went to college and ultimately what led you to that particular career, that major.
Mm-hmm. Well, starting out in university and college, I was kind of a general science major, a biological sciences major, and my inspiration going into studying marine and ocean life was actually kind of my grandfather. I just remember seeing him in pictures. He actually retired to St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands.
Really?
Water was blue and
Mm-hmm.
crystal clear. And I just remember as a kid riding along the rivers and the bayous and seeing the water being so brown. So my interest kind of struck there. I was always interested in fish and being outside and that sort of thing.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So do you know how to swim?
So of course, yes, I do. We started as young kids, my mom and my dad. Our church sort of was the swimming pool. On Sundays, we would go there for swimming lessons and to play around, and you learn a lot of important life skills when you learn to swim. Finding a buddy, being safe, make sure you're checking on people and that sort of thing. So that kind of prompted me moving towards science. And then I also like to take things apart as a child.
Okay.
And I had an interest in how things function. But yeah, in college, I found marine sciences was a nice mix between those two worlds.
Okay.
So I attended LSU as a freshman, and into my senior year, I kind of started moving towards marine science.
Okay. Was there anyone else that inspired you? I know you said your grandfather.
Mm-hmm.
How did your father and your mother feel about you getting into that particular career?
Well, my parents are, as long as we're happy, they're happy. That's kind of their motto. So if I wanted to be a nurse or wanted to be anything else, they would support me in whatever I would do.
Mm-hmm.
It's an unconventional career for a black woman, but for me, I kind of go with my interests. I'm not interested in what anybody thinks or cares because it's my happiness that is most important to me.
Exactly.
So in university and in college, there weren't a lot of students who looked like me, but that didn't matter because I was doing what I loved.
What you love. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I know we're talking about the university in South Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So you being the only African American female, any African American males?
We had a few in our courses, but we were either the only one of two or of three in college and in classes when we get to the upper level classes.
Okay. How about women in general? Is that a field that you were observant of a number of women or mostly men?
So in undergraduate, we had primarily men in the classes. But in graduate school, I ended up going to the University of South Florida in St. Petersburg. They have a large college of marine science.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually the opposite. There were more females than males.
Really?
In the courses and taking the curriculums.
Okay. So, with that in mind, what career opportunities are out there in that major?
Mm-hmm. So what I particularly majored in graduate school is I was interested in coral reefs. They're kind of the rainforest of the sea. They're important for fishing, for preservation of coastlines, among other things. And I was just really interested in focus on how those things function and what they look like in healthy states and when they're diseased, which can become a problem for economy and other things.
I was going to say, I don't know anything about that.
Well, they're actually
Enlighten me.
so coral reefs are, like as I said before, the rainforest of the sea, but they hold a diverse amount of ocean life. So when we go there, we see many different types of fishes, shrimps, sharks, lots of different things to keep this habitat intact. And it's important for people who live near there, who fish for their sustenance or for their living. And many agencies, governmental agencies around the world are very interested in protecting them. Because if they decline, they're kind of the canary in the coal mines for the planet, for the globe, as we have warming temperatures and climate change occurring.
And then not to mention just making sure that sea life is healthy.
That's correct.
And safe, because we're out here in Southwest Louisiana and folks, fish and shrimp and provide that, those items, as we would say, as food.
Correct.
So we want to make sure that, it's safe. I mean, I'm always questioning, where did this particular, fish, crawfish, or what have you come from? So protecting that is good. So what jobs have you had locally? Are there any jobs like in the Lafayette, Louisiana area in marine science?
So I think one of the best places to start if you're interested in marine science is to start at local universities, zoos and aquariums. It just depends on what your focus is. I really highly encourage anyone who's interested in going into marine science is actually, doing your homework and your research. But what's really important is the skill set that you get doesn't just allow you to study habitat or work with fishermen or, go to the oil rigs and make sure that environmental degradation isn't happening and those habitats are being intact. You can use the skills you get to start your own company, to go into government, to inform people in Washington who are making laws, and to also just be a research scientist, to ask questions that you have interest in a given environment, and to follow those up with study and experiment to come to conclusions about whether things may or may not be good for the habitat.
Wow, that's so exciting. Have you had a chance to talk to young folks about marine science and the things that you've done, the things that you've learned?
One of the important things I think, especially in my graduate school training in Florida, is that we always had a component of outreach to our projects or to anything we did. So we had a marine science day where much of the public, typically children from preschool age all the way up to middle school, would come in. We have different demos set up for them to learn about ocean life and knowledge and how to be good environmental stewards. We've gone out and talked with girls from Girl Scout troops and trying to inform them and educate them. So we've had a number of opportunities to engage with the public.
Okay, so how are the students receptive to that?
So the kids love it. I mean, especially I find like students really enjoy hands-on things. If they can go out somewhere and see the life that we're talking about in the classroom in front of them, and we can form projects that not only educate them but also the community, and to help make us as humans be more sustainable in the environment. The kids will eat that up. I mean, it's their favorite things to do.
How about underwater, diving? Have you done anything
of course,
of that sort?
Of course. One of the requirements of my particular program was that I had to go out and collect samples out on the ocean on a boat, a research vessel, and we have to get certified and trained for underwater safety, technical training, so that when we're diving, we're doing everything properly and in a safe manner to make sure everybody obviously comes back. But yes, we dive. Well, part of my program was to scuba dive on different gases, primarily compressed oxygen, but we do have nitrox and there's some other more technical mixed gases. As you go deeper, you'll need for that type of work.
So you get samples. Did you have to photograph, any of the samples while you were underwater?
Right. What's really important is when you're going out for a research cruise, which is what we call them, you go out and you have to set up a experimental design and plan beforehand. And once you get out there, you'll collect samples or photograph. You have to bag things and write sample names down and how much they weighed and all these other things. So we can take that data back to the lab and reference those sites that we studied before, and then perform our analysis in the laboratory for the questions that we're asking.
Wow, that's above me. I mean, I really think it's exciting. Unfortunately, I don't even know how to swim, Camille.
Mm-hmm. I highly recommend whatever age you are. Learning to swim is, I think, a beautiful experience. It may seem a little bit scary at first,
is.
But it's just trying to become one with the water and understand its, strengths and respect the power of water as well. I think it's one of the best life skills people can learn.
Probably so, and as I'm older now, when I hear folks talking about it, they said so much better if you start a child off very young learning, to swim. I can hold my breath underwater. Does that, help?
Well, you can hold your breath, but only for so much.
Yeah.
I think it's really good to get kids swimming early, but I think it's just as important for adults to learn how to swim because, God forbid if there's an incident or anything, you want to be able, as a parent or a grandparent, to be able to make the right decisions in having to address, a safety situation near water.
Right, because, I've seen some folks that, in the pool and 4 feet of water and got really scared, and the thing they didn't realize is that all they needed to do was stand up.
Correct.
Because that's a good option. I haven't taught my kids to swim. So does everybody in your family know how to swim?
Everyone except for my mom does. She's had a few lessons but hasn't taken things on full-fledged, but she is soon to retire, so I'm hoping now that she has a little bit more time, we can go, full speed, and she'll be set quite soon.
And I think there's people, I'm sure, that teach older folks, the basics of swimming.
Sure. I think local YMCA or Parks and Recreations Department, you can certainly look for programs there to, get kids in the pool, get adults in the pool. And one of the really nice things with the staff and lifeguards there is actually learning together. There are some programs that have mom and baby programs and that sort of thing. So.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. So we're about to wrap up the interview. I just wanted to find out, we're here in Lafayette. Does UL offer courses in marine science? If there was someone out there that was interested in, getting involved in that, is that some courses that you can start off here in Lafayette?
I'm sure, I'm not as familiar with UL's program, but they do have a biological science department, and I'm sure the professors and teachers there probably do provide something in the realm of marine science. From freshwater, marine is what I tend to focus in, but from freshwater ecology on the way up to looking at ocean life.
Okay.
I did undergraduate at LSU, and they have the School of Coast and Science, which they have an abundance of courses to take.
Okay. I'm just thinking, Camille and I have been working, quite a bit over the past few months in just community organization and getting involved in some things, and I know that you're pretty knowledgeable of the law. Did you end up, taking any classes in law?
So I haven't taken any formal classes in law, but I did take a course where we looked at ocean governance. I also took part in a congregation of graduate students who went up to Washington, D.C. to kind of talk with legislators about how we can make better laws to protect the coastline and to protect the reefs that I happen to be studying. So with that experience, we kind of had to learn the more political side of life and law and how that applied to the ocean. So in the work that Susannah's talking about, I've just kind of applied looking at some of those resources to some social things that are happening here in Lafayette.
Yeah, and she's so knowledgeable. She's such a breath of fresh air, very intelligent, and I actually thought you maybe minored in law or something because you just, reached out, found the information that, would help the group in its research. So I thought, wow, she must be leaning towards being an attorney or as well, but you've just tied the two, because of the legal aspects, the political aspects.
Correct.
So that's really interesting. When I was young, thinking about what I was going to major in, it was education. Because when I grew up around teachers, and to me, a lot of them were role models, and that was one of the things that I wanted to follow in. So I had not branched out into anything like marine science or biology. Actually, I didn't like biology. When chemistry was fine. I didn't care too much for biology. Once we had to dissect that little frog, that was really hard for me.
Well, some people, it's not their thing.
That's not my thing.
Some people really take to science. Some people love English. Some people love art. I mean, you just have to, find and follow your passion.
Right.
I know a lot of people get pressure, especially as being African Americans. And what the traditional jobs are, lawyer, doctor, teacher, what our parents want or what our grandparents want and who raised us, what they want for us. But we also have to ask ourselves what's going to eventually make us happy.
Right.
The other thing is that you really have to be okay with saying, hey, look, I'm doing something but I like this over here. And that it's actually okay to change your mind.
And it is.
That's okay. It may not make other people happy. But I think in order to, again, get to focusing on what you enjoy and makes you happy is how you should proceed.
All right. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
I guess, yes. A couple of things. Number one is find your passion. Number two, learn about finances and what you can do in terms of being financially free. I mean, in a sense, a lot of people and students want to go to college. They want all these things, but I think what's really important is to be financially literate. What it means to have a credit card, what it means to spend this. That way, in life, you can make the right decisions, and instead of always trying to figure out how am I going to pay for this next thing. You've had the knowledge to save appropriately, so then when things come your way that you want to do, you don't have to, figure out and struggle to get what you want. You have a resource there that you can tap into, and then just keep going.
It is tough these days. I'd like to thank Camille
Thank you for having me.
For the interview. And this has been another interview presented to you by the Southern View magazine. If you're wanting more information on the magazine, just go to www.thesouthernview.wordpress.com. And I'm Susannah Johnson Malbreaux, and I've been very happy to sit here and interview, Miss Camille. And as we said before, it's a one-man operation, so I'm going to step outside of the interview, get the camera turned off, and just go ahead and give some additional closing comments. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Study hard. Take the time to travel, and again, follow your passion. It's the most important thing you can do in life.